It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US makes studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
How's everybody doing, huh? It's Monday morning. We doing good? It's Monday at 10 a.m., 11 Eastern. So by now you should have at least thawed out from what I'm sure was a big weekend. A lot going on, a lot of reason to celebrate. Well, for certain people. The fact is it's the holiday season. And like you can kind of get that juice, right? Wherever you go. Scotty B, the Baylor King, early on, chiming in saying Baylor has a new AD. We'll get to that. Well, actually, we have Engel from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, who's going to join us at 10:30. Wonderful sports writer, columnist there for years. I want to get his thoughts on that too, Scotty B. I had some conversations with people about that over the weekend. For me, it was an uninspiring hire, but maybe I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation truly right now. But to me, it seemed like a hire, and I don't want to get off on a jag, but it was the first comment we got this morning, that hire says to me, like when you hired Mac Rhodes, he was a heavy hitter, right? And I really feel like Mac Rhodes, you hire him to leave your athletics department in a better situation. And honestly, that's one thing he absolutely did. He came from Missouri, right? SEC football. His track record, hired Kelvin Sampson to Houston, whatever. I feel like he was at Arizona for a little bit, but obviously, like he was a great hire. He was elite. And now we'll see, right? I mean, really, we'll see what happens with this. I don't understand the direction that the university wants to go in. With this hire, but I know I'll find out, and I'm going to do some research and figure out what it's all about, and we will talk about that a little later in the show. But you got to start with the college football playoff and the fact that we love Slovakics, baby. Come on now. I actually told you guys I got into a wreck. My car is now in West. The guy's the man. Justin called me from the wrecking company. Anyways, it wasn't my fault. Obviously, I'm okay, but like. I'm dealing with some good people in West right now because that's where the accident happened, right on 35. And I'll tell you something. I love Slovakics anytime I'm in West. Now, being honest with you, after I got into a wreck with an 18-wheeler, I wasn't exactly thinking about eating. But when I was on the way back to DFW with my lovely fiance later in the day, I definitely gazed at that Slovakic sign, which still shines bright at night. And I thought, man, I can't wait till the next time I walk in there. So Slovakics, thank you so much. Socorro Family Ford, also some amazing people out in West. I got to make a stop by there pretty soon, maybe. maybe we'll be talking about other things than sponsorship deals, right? Socorro Family Ford, those are my people. And thanks to Crawford Austin Properties, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, the whole deal. Everybody might be getting in on this act. I didn't plan this, I promise. So the college football playoff comes out, right? For me, my first reaction as someone who is just involved on a very high level with the Big 12, BYU got snubbed. And not only you can live, there's a world where it's like, okay, I understand how they didn't get in. I do. If you want another example of just how much of a class act this school is, Brian Santiago, Kalane Satake, all their players. I mean, of course, the fan base is upset this morning and was upset yesterday afternoon, and rightfully so, because my biggest issue, and this is where the Notre Dame thing, I'm not happy. Oh, I'm happy Notre Dame didn't get in. I didn't think Notre Dame deserved to get into this college football playoff because of the merits of their performance on the field this season. You had two big games early. You lost them both. End of story. On the goddamn football field. Excuse my language. But so that's it. You lost. The rest of your schedule sucked on fire, dude. Awful schedule. Like 43rd, 42nd in the entire country. Your statement win was against Pitt on the road. Woo! Like, give me a break, dude. Like, you're not going to be able to contend or go toe-to-toe with an Alabama whose biggest win was against Georgia. Yeah, they had a bad loss early in the season, but so did you. You had two of them. So the Notre Dame outcry, I again, and I'm not like, I do appreciate Notre Dame, what they bring to college football. They're one of the hallmarks of the sport, right? One of the blue chip, blue blood programs in all of sports, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't qualify, you don't qualify. You flat out weren't good enough. And don't give me that rubbish that, oh, the committee got our hopes up. We were so excited, right? Every week they had us in. Tough shit. You didn't beat Miami on the field. So they got in and you did it. That's it. I am crazy with the Notre Dame stuff. If you want to get into the college football playoff, then beat somebody that's good. Really. Like, that's it. There is no argument. There's no debate. And the fact that, honestly, the committee in my mind, sort of slipped up. Yeah, they can fall back on, well, once BYU lost that game, right? When BYU lost the second time to Texas Tech, now they slip out, right? They are now going to 13, which puts Notre Dame and Miami back to back, which then at that point, I guess, we're going to pass the idiot test and go back to, yeah, that's right. When they played on the field, Miami was better. Like, and I don't want to hear, oh, it was earlier in the season. It was this year, dude. Like, this is how we break this stuff down. It's about what happens on the field. I appreciate analytics and stats and all that stuff, but it can't be second to what transpires on the gridiron. It's moronic. And we're going to go to BYU's resume in a second, which kicks Notre Dame's ass over tea kettle. I almost dropped another GD. It really does. But did you hear, like, BYU, and fans are allowed to fan all they want, right? I totally respect it. Cliche, fans another name for fanatic, and it is. We hear it all the time, but it's true, and it's very true in cases like this. So BYU fans, knock yourself out. Go crazy. But you don't hear a whole lot from the university today. BYU is going to play in their bowl game. Notre Dame is not. And that's all you need to know about Notre Dame. This program that stands on this mountain, right? So pious, so pious, so pious. You know, touchdown Jesus. We're all about commitment and good people and ba, 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 ba. I can guarantee you, and I know this from having friends who are, you know, again, I didn't invent football. I call a bunch of games. I call a bunch of college basketball games. I end up in rooms with people who know all this stuff, right? Guys who have played the sport, guys who have coached the sport, guys who know people on committees. And when Florida State last year in the 2023 season, I'm parched already. By the way, I didn't see this happening. When Florida State was left out of the college football playoff, okay, that 14 playoff in 2023, and they went to the Orange Bowl and got annihilated, right? A lot of the alums and donors and powers that be in high places at Notre Dame were really upset about that. Really upset, pissed at Billy Napier, upset about the fact, like, why would he let that happen, right? Why would he go to that bowl game? Okay. He should have taken a stand. And to me, that logged something in my brain, like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you know, it wasn't about the players at all. And the players all really defected from Florida State. So maybe that is a reason why they shouldn't have played, right? Maybe they knew more as to what was going on at the time, right? Inside the facility, and maybe the powers that be did. Maybe they knew more, whatever. But I know this for a fact. I've talked to powerful people affiliated with that football program who were very pissed that game was played and resented the coaching staff after that, right? And so when you have a situation and an opportunity for Notre Dame to quite possibly do the same thing, right? Go play a bowl game after getting snubbed. And by the way, we're talking two totally different situations. You know, Florida State really had a hill to die on there. Their quarterback got hurt, so they got bounced, right? I mean, we have no idea how they would have done in that tournament or in that playoff, 4 teams, if they had gone and advanced. That loss that's shellacking in the Orange Bowl to Georgia is not indicative of who that team was. So we'll really never know. Notre Dame, totally different story. Your schedule sucks. You lost your 2 big games, and you have a bowl game, an opportunity for your team to play, right? You experience, first of all, another thing that I don't know, like, and being a former college football player, I never played a snap. I got a scholarship. They kept my scholarship. I had a heart problem. I don't want to get that out there. I don't want to pretend like I was out there like Lawrence Taylor, but I was at every game and every practice and worked with the team. Look, there's a picture right there. Okay. You don't believe me? They did march me out for media days, and they told me there was a chance I was going to play my first 2 years, which was tough because they knew I wasn't going to play. That resentment, I'll handle that on my time. These ones we're airing out together. Okay. You have an opportunity for like 15, 20 more practices as a team together. If you're Notre Dame, there's a lot of guys on that roster who will never play football again, right? And they thought they had one more game coming. And I can promise you that's one of those deals where you get in the room and whether it's peer pressure from the coaches, I mean, maybe they voted. I don't know. I don't know what went on there. I just know that it sets a bad example for the rest of college football. If you want to be on this mountaintop and you want to be Notre Dame, like keep your character alive. Have character, have commitment. Like honestly, like BYU. We haven't heard like, and that's one thing. And this is where this process becomes a freaking joke, okay? Because I'm in my hotel room after Kansas State got their asses kicked by Seton Hall, by the way, on Saturday, the game that I called. That's a problem for Drew and Thang, but that's another thing. So I'm in Manhattan, Kansas, watching these college football conference tournament or conference championship games. And I got, what's his face? Diaz, right? Manny Diaz is telling me why Duke should be in the college football playoff. Like, dude, save it, bro. Enjoy your championship. It was amazing. What you guys did was special, right? That's it. Like, just move on. Don't tell me that Duke belongs in the college football playoff, right? Not the way that things are aligned. Now, look, and this is a major problem, right? Like, there is a lot of stuff that needs to be improved. There's no question about it. Like, but the system is the system. You guys knew the rules going in. So let's not act surprised. You know, like Notre Dame, they have somehow, right, like stacked the deck. So now going forward for the next 5 or 6 years, this is the truth now. Hand to God, no touchdown Jesus pun or anything. And by the way, no knock on religion. I'm a big God Squad guy over here. But Notre Dame just drives me nuts about how they're so, you know, and I grew up Catholic, still am Catholic. But I should practice a little more, Mom, if you're watching. I need to get to church more, and I want to, but I haven't, so that's on me. But I get this. You know the parameters, right? So the moment you don't get in, that's it. It's over. You didn't get in. Like, stop the crybaby stuff. Don't not go to a bowl. And I again, the Florida State thing is very real. I have a very good like sources around that, and they were pissed that Florida State played on. I really believe that was on high. Like, you're not going to this bowl game, right? Like, we're not doing this. And then you know the SHIT rolls downhill. And the players are told, like, hey, you know, if we played, we should, whatever. So they ripped away an opportunity for the student athlete to get better and to have more experiences, right, that were supposed to be part of their college experience. Thanks a lot, Notre Dame. Like, yeah, you guys rock. You guys are the best. All right, let's pull up the resumes now real quick. This was the BYU argument, and, man, it is a good one. You want to go crazy, Cougar fans? Look at that. I saw that yesterday. I had to make sure it wasn't like some bogus AI, or I had to source it up. This is very real. Look at that. So Notre Dame strength of schedule 44, okay? Miami 45, BYU 22. Strength of record, BYU 9, Notre Dame 13, Miami 14. So why isn't BYU in? I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you. But short of, and I'm not far. I mean, I could hop in a car and the moment my plane landed yesterday back in DFW, I could have run over to Grapevine and broken the doors down and held everybody hostage until somebody said, okay, BYU is going to make it into the college football playoff. But short of that, there's nothing anybody can do, which is why I exercise my little bit of sanity. And when I see BYU doesn't get in, I say, man, that sucks. Turn the page. What bowl game are they going to be in? Right? I mean, the crying and the politicking and all that stuff feels way too much like politics, which is why when I see guys who I respect, like Manny Diaz, pounding his chest saying, we deserve to be in the college football playoff, and I know he doesn't, right? Like, tough shit, dude. You're not in. Like, don't tell me that the sky is purple, right? It's blue, Manny. Right? And so a lot of that, even like after Sark, even after they won, when Sark beat A&M, you know, like he's saying like this is a team. And I get that to a degree, but at some point it's like, put down the sword, dude. Go do your job. Like, stop blowing smoke up our rear ends. Like, it's enough already. Like, good for Kalane Sitake, truthfully, and Brian Santiago. Like, I just don't know what good comes from all of the hand wringing. I just don't know. Like, control what you can control. Go back out there and kick ass next year and win the two. Like, dude, the Notre Dame thing is really mind numbing. And it shows that, like, look, okay, here's a great example. I finished watching the Puff Daddy drama. It felt like, by the way, that story is like, I can't even believe it. So Netflix, right? The documentary series. This guy, Puff Daddy, was, I mean, you want to talk about completely off the reservation for like probably the last 4 or 5 years of his life before he went to jail, ultimately prison, right? And he was surrounded by all these guys who were like, yeah, Puff, get him. Tell him, Puff, you're getting screwed. And he is like not in a good mental state. He's sick on alcohol and drugs and whatever else he's believing. And there's nobody around him being like, yo, Puff, like, you need to chill. Like, this ain't going well for you. You know, like, I mean, yes men everywhere. Like, I feel like that's the same thing that goes on in some of these bubbles, right? Some of these echo chambers around college football. It's like the same issues we have with people in society who find their group online, right? Whether it's a group of, you know, who knows? I don't even want to say like some dark term, but like you get what I'm saying. And they all go over there, right? And they all talk to one another and they get all riled up, right? And they're just talking to one another. And then they go out into the rest of the world like rabid, bloodthirsty dogs on a mission to nowhere. And that's what we're seeing now this morning with Notre Dame. All right, so the tournament as it stands. Whew, I'm riled up. Okay. And we're going to talk about TV too. We got Mac Rhodes. We don't have Mac Rhodes, I can promise you that. We got Mac Engel coming up here at 10:30, okay? But you see the matchups, okay? Alabama, Oklahoma. Now that's a Friday night game this Friday, 8 Eastern, so 7 Central our time. You know I love the broadcasters. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe, and Laura Rutledge on the call for that one. Oklahoma, I'm really happy to see them in. Alabama, I'm happy to see them in because I bet that they would get in before the season. Or maybe I didn't. The second game on the slate this weekend will be, and this one's the best in my opinion, the one I'm most excited to watch because it's one that these teams have not played each other, something I know nothing about. They do both have one common opponent, Notre Dame, and they both beat the shit out of them. So how about that, Notre Dame? Maybe that's a little strong in the wording, but you lost to both teams, okay? You lost. A loss on the field. You don't get in. You don't get in for losing your 2 biggest games. So Miami and Texas A&M, it's going to be a great one. Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, Molly McGrath, and Taylor McGregor. Rising star. I'm cool with that. And then 3:30. This is Tulane, Ole Miss. This is my biggest gripe. And I know you can't do this, and I know there's not as much wiggle room because we talk about the fact that it's in the NCAA tournament, right? You'll see Patino squaring off with Cal, right? Like we saw St. John's in Arkansas, second round this year in the tournament. That was so much fun. I don't know that they have like I said, like the wiggle room, the leeway to really figure out the matchups, right? But I hate this rematch. Okay, we got a group of 5 team in here, which is fine. I don't hate on the group of 5 stuff because I just don't. I don't know. That could be a fundamental problem with me. I don't I see the people man, the best teams aren't in. And I do understand that point. I'm not going to be oh, that's ridiculous. I understand that point, but me personally, I'm a product of the NCAA tournament in college basketball, the field of 64. When Villanova won the tournament in 1985, that taught me to dream and believe that anything can happen. So I do appreciate the little guys getting a shot. Okay, that's just me, whatever. But I don't like seeing the little guys have to tee up another ball game where they might get the break speed off them once again. Tulane and Ole Miss, we saw that earlier this season. Now, maybe does that give Tulane an advantage? You're going up against a kind of different type of Ole Miss team. Joe Tess is on the call there. Jesse Palmer, friend of the show, Katie George, who joined us last week. Thank you, Chris Visser. And Quint Kesnich. They'll be on the call for that one. Then rounding out the first round, James Madison at Oregon. That's an interesting game, by the way. I have an issue. I have East Coast bias, right? Big Ten bias and SEC bias. I lack respect for a lot of the West Coast teams. I think they're garbage, actually. So I always feel like Oregon is like, I feel like Oregon's waiting to get beat. I really do. Like, I just do. Oregon's biggest wins to me, and I'm not going to be right here. So hang in with me, right? This is like you're in Pete's universe where like he's kind of out of his mind. The wins I remember for Oregon over the past like 2-3 years are when they beat Colorado, when, you know, they're playing for clicks, we're playing for wins, and when they beat Penn State this year. Both those teams turned out that they sucked, right? And I understand there's excitement in Oregon and all that, but I'm not bought in. So, like, if there was an upset I would pick or a team I would pick to cover in this first round, it would be JMU. By the way, who I picked to get in the tournament before we started this whole thing this year. And on the call in that game will be Bob Wischusen, Lewis Reddick, Chris Budden, and Stormy Bonatani. Now, one thing I'll say, those last two games that I told you, the late games on Saturday, those are the ones that ESPN have sub-licensed out. So it's all ESPN broadcasters, but those games will be on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max, which is cool. They did an amazing job with those games this year. I don't know how much. I don't even know if they'll have any like hands-on like ability to change the look of that broadcast. Like if the folks who really enhanced some of those HBO Big 12 broadcasts this year, but they did an amazing job. So it'll be cool to see how that happens. All right, plenty more to come on college football. We're going to have more of a thoughtful voice. I consider myself a very thoughtful person when it comes to college football and sports, but today I'm just riled up, and I'm speaking to you guys from the heart. Like this whole thing is so screwy and broken, but I do think we love it. Like there's something underneath it all that like, why is this still happening in 2025? About to be 2026. I've been dealing with this headache since I was a little kid, right? Banging the drum for Villanova to get that 8 seed or 9 seed that was available, or 10 seed that we thought we could get, right? And getting left at the altar some years, and then some years getting in, and crying a river if we didn't get in. It works. Look, this is entertainment, man. Like it or not. And we are entertained. We might be pissed, but we're entertained. And I'm not saying like this is like this big machine beyond us that like there's all kinds of conspiracies and stuff. Some people would tell you there definitely are. It's a flawed system, but somehow we love it. And somehow it keeps being flawed all the time. You think there's something to that? Maybe. Mac Engel with us, a thoughtful voice, like I said, from the Fort Worth Star Telegram. Coming back, we're presented by Slovaceks. Scotty Swingler in the home studio holding it down. Chris Visser making it happen in Orlando. We'll be back after this.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, it is the Pete Sousa Show, and we welcomed in esteemed writer, columnist for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Been at it for a very long time. Mac Engel, what's happening, dude?
Not a lot, Pete. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. How are you this morning?
I'm hanging. You know, a little like, it's funny. I thought I was a totally normal person until I started this thing up, and I actually started to like talk about this whole college football playoff experience. And then my true feelings start to shine through. It does make me appreciate that I have a platform. I'm really frustrated with Notre Dame fans and Notre Dame not going to the bowl, although there's a shred of me that tries to understand. I think BYU got jobbed. I think, but I expected that, which is weird, so it didn't surprise me. You had a great point. You tweeted a day or two ago, you know, the college football playoff, I guess it was yesterday, since it's expanded to 12 teams, 3 group of 5 teams, 2 Big 12 teams. Let's start there. Can you make sense of that for me?
No. It's such a slap in the face. It is such a slap in the face at the whole Power 4, we're better than you idea, right? We sit here and say Power 4, and then we think about the whole idea that there's going to be a super conference and all this other stuff. That line has already been drawn, right? We've already seen it. And really, as you and I both know, this is not a playoff. This is a big SEC 10 invitational. That's what
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
That's what it is. And then you have this massive independent that is unlike anything else in Notre Dame, sort of sitting above all of it, getting to play God or not. And then you have however many teams are in the Big 12 now, 16, sitting there saying how great they are, but the playoff selection committee says, yeah, no, you're not. You get 2 teams in 2 years. And then you have a group of 5 teams that have tons and tons of schools which are mostly all public institutions in all these different states. Well, they complain a lot. And then, you know, they play each other, then they get 12-1 or 12-0. Then the metrics look really, really good. And you've got this data point and this data point. And they say, okay, we're going to put them in. And then the other thing that's sort of silently existing off into the side is the fact all of the people making these decisions are all friends, well, or at least friendly and have professional relationships. And they've got to try to keep this thing and keep all of the anger at bay. So how do you do that? Well, then you give everybody one spot, right? And you kind of take turns. So that's why I thought there's no way they're ever going to deny a conference champion, or not even necessarily a conference champion. Let me take that back. A team from every conference. So we're going to put Miami in. Well, Duke won the conference championship. Yeah, but they're not the best. So we're going to put Miami in. Okay. Now you got a group of 5. We got all these group of 5 teams. Okay, then they get it. They get a spot. Well, they got this really impressive resume too. Okay, well, we'll get 2 spots. Well, what about the Big 12? Well, clearly Texas Tech's better than everybody else. So they're going to get 1 spot. Well, BYU, yeah, but they lost twice to the same team. So how really good can they be? Can that conference be? And by doing that, everybody just gets a taste, right, of the cake. Well, most people, well, everybody in the Big 10, they get fat and happy, as well as the SEC. So you have this massive mess that everybody keeps saying, oh, it's dying, it's unsustainable, it's broken. No, it's not true. It's not true. It's making money hand over fist. Gambling now is out of the closet. That's driving an enormous part of it. We can't help but watch it because it's such a fun reality TV drama, soap opera show. And it's just flawed. That's it. It's just flawed. But I keep watching it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And this is where we are. And whatever change that they're going to make, and they'll make some other modification to it, it'll be the same thing. So they're going to go to 16 teams, right? They will. And then 17 and 18 will complain and whine, oh, this is an affront to society. This does a disservice. And it'll just keep going and going. And they keep changing it and tweaking it. But the most important thing I have learned is that those in charge, they protect their bottom line. That's the priority. And as long as that happens, none of this is going to stop.
When you look at I was looking up, I'm familiar with the committee, but not terribly familiar. So yesterday, I called it up and I looked and saw, okay, everybody that's in that room and on that committee.
Right.
And
this white guy thing.
Dude. And I'm not like that guy, but that jumped off the page at me. I mean, it's like, I was like, because I looked at all the headshots, I was like, well, that's interesting, that lends itself to,
wasn't there one that stood out?
Yeah, the one minority was a female,
right?
I'm like, wow,
worst. It's like a South Park episode, right?
So that definitely grabbed me. Now, those guys. Do they like when they get in that room? And I guess I can take this into BYU because when you call up the numbers for BYU, their strength of schedule, their strength of record, both of those and their record's right there with Miami and Notre Dame, and their strength of record and strength of schedule are far better than those 2 schools. So what are we basing these decisions on? Are we now more eye test and less data because there's more human element involved? What can you tell me about that?
So a number of years ago, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, or CFP, every year they do like a mock selection process for members of the media. It's at a hotel in Grapevine. I'm pretty sure it's at the same hotel where they actually do the voting. And I got to be involved in that once. This 5 or 8 years ago. And I think they do it every year. And I was happy to do it. And it was enlightening. So you put in 12 of us who go through a mock selection process. And it was based on the prior year's results. And you see in that process how ultimately flawed it is and how you can take virtually any data point, any anecdote to make your argument, even though it contradicts what you said about a different team. So you can't really win. And at the end of it, the human element trumps all of it, which is, well, it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
So you got to put them in. And so that's why when I saw what I saw yesterday with BYU getting the shaft, it wasn't just that BYU got the shaft. And I don't know if you noticed this, but they lost at 2:00. Game was over at 1:00 effectively, probably by noon. But by 5:00, they weren't even part of the conversation. Did you notice that?
Yes,
and that
was one of the most frustrating because Kalani Sitake said after the game, just show us on the graphic. He didn't even get that. Like they really weren't a part of that picture.
Nope.
Once the day continued to matriculate. Yes.
And so now you've just the human element and whoever's running the ESPN, Chiron system or whatever, the graphic system says, who do we need up there? Well, we don't have enough room for BYU. It's too many letters. So we're not even going to put them on the screen. And it's Miami and a handful of group fives. And I thought BYU totally got the shaft. And the thing that's frustrating to me as someone who likes the Big 12, because it's a really entertaining league. I'm not fooling myself. The Big 12 is not as good as the SEC. I know that.
Yeah.
But I would say this. If we're going to tether success now with teams that can really raise a lot of money, I'm sorry, you better start talking about BYU. That university has a lot of money. And ask Penn State, right? So this idea, I mean, we saw what Texas Tech has done with Cody Campbell as, clearly, probably the single most influential donor this side of Phil Knight. And obviously Phil's not doing for Oregon what he had done 20 years ago. But I think you've got to really look at what BYU has done and their ability to raise money. Look what they did for their basketball program. So if we're going to sit there and look what everybody's sitting there saying, well, look at Vanderbilt. How did Vanderbilt do it? Well, because they could pay guys now. How did Duke get that quarterback? Well, you can pay guys now. Well, BYU can do that. And if that's a metric, which it was for Texas Tech, which it was for Vanderbilt, then you better apply that to BYU too. Because to me, monetarily speaking, they are at the top of the Big 12 and they can compete financially with just about with most big state schools. Maybe not Texas, maybe not Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State, but they're in that conversation. And the part that frustrated me was, wait a minute, this is all about money. That school's got more money than I can count, and you're not even acknowledging them. That's a major flaw.
Another flaw that I feel is upon us, and you touched on it with the human element. This is one part reality show and one part real life. I mean, the games get played on the field. Yeah. I was so compelled, or I found it so compelling that, Notre Dame is banging the drum about getting in over Miami when they lost to them on the field, and to me, it's like, and the committee, maybe you could say, is responsible for leading them on or whatever, getting their hopes up. But, during the season, when there was, I guess, BYU was between Miami and Notre Dame for a little bit, then BYU leaves. And so now they're back to back. So then you have to look at the on the field results. But did you find that surprising how we are now less and less of a factor is the head-to-head matchup? That is the one thing that blows my mind wide open, Mac.
Yeah, because the first year, this was in my backyard. This point really hit my backyard because I live in Fort Worth, not too far from TCU. In 2014, when going into the final ranking of the first ever college football playoff selection process, TCU, I think, was like third. And then they go out and they absolutely destroy, and that TCU team was good. They go out and they absolutely destroy Iowa State by like 50 points. And then the final ranking comes, and TCU is not in the top four. And then I think they were behind Baylor because TCU, or maybe they were ahead of Baylor, I can't remember. But the point is, that TCU team was really good. I mean, they had a lot of dudes on that team. That Baylor team was really good. Well, Baylor had defeated TCU back, and I think in October of that year in an epic game. It was like 63-56 or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of these crazy games, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. But Baylor won that game, and that part of the conversation never came up. It was like, well, TCU got screwed, and it did because of where the rankings were. But no one ever really wanted, outside of Waco, Texas, no one wanted to factor in the fact, well, Baylor beat TCU. You guys both finished with one loss. So wait a minute. How does this math? Well, it doesn't. And that's part of the flaw of this selection process that drives me crazy. I wouldn't have had any problem had Notre Dame been put in. If you go look at Notre Dame's schedule, they barely lost to Miami on the road, a good Miami team. They lost by a point in the final minute to a very good Texas A&M team. They run the table, beat Pitt. It's pretty good. USC is pretty good. And everybody rips their schedule, and justifiably so, but everybody bags on their schedule. To me, I'm like, no, that would have been, if they put them in the last team, I would have had no problem with Notre Dame getting it. The problem, and I'm curious to see what you think about this, my issue with this particular one, the Alabama one, is based purely on the name of the front of the jersey. Purely. If that was named Kentucky, if that was named South Carolina, or pick some other Missouri or Arkansas, they're not getting in. They're only getting in because of the name on the front of the jersey. The part that just confounded me is that they accommodated 2 group of 5 teams. I'm like, why would you do that? I mean, and now they set themselves up. Most of these playoff games, as we know, most of them have been blowouts. Most of them are 2-score games, right? But the good ones are amazing, right? The good ones, like, holy cow, this is remarkable. And we had a handful of good games last year, but go look in that first round. The first round were all dogs. And now with these 2 group of 5 teams, they better hope that they give them a game, because I don't know if you looked at the point spreads, they're huge.
Huge.
And we saw SMU was really good. They go to Happy Valley against Penn State and get run out of the building before the end of the first quarter. Not even close.
Yeah.
And that's a different part. That's a different problem for college football. But in terms of this selection process and Notre Dame, the griping about Notre Dame and the head-to-head, if you're going to use a head-to-head, then Miami has to get in Notre Dame.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, who can argue with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. The challenge I have is, you really think Notre Dame at that record is not as good as James Madison?
Well, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But the way that they've laid this out for us, right? Like, this makes the most sense. And like you, if Notre Dame had gotten in, I would not have been a fan of it, but you live with it. It's Notre Dame, really. And they are, you can almost take in their body of work last year, you really, I mean, this is my issue was, there was a head-to-head between these 2 teams. Notre Dame won. So in that case, I think we all just move on with life. Notre Dame definitely moves on because they're not playing in that bowl game. Where do you weigh in on that? I mean, because that's another thing, they know more than you and I know there in South Bend right now, where the interest is among the players. I know this from calling games for ESPN, and I always say, I'm not Adam Schefter, right? I'm not Reese Davis, but I'm in the room with a lot of guys who are really connected just by calling games with analysts and stuff. And I heard that Florida State, when they lost that bid, and they got knocked out of the 14 playoff and the quarterback's hurt, that alumni base and the powers that be were pissed that they decided to play that game in the Orange Bowl because they got annihilated, right? And so that brings about that recent history, and knowing that information makes me wonder, who really made this decision for Notre Dame not to play in this game? And does it come, at the sacrifice of these young men who maybe want to play another game, who maybe need some more tape to get into an NFL camp? That surprises me.
The one thing I've recognized about those guys, well, it's not, it's just men and women playing major Division I college sports. When they're near the end, they just want it to end. And they don't recognize the gravity of that decision. Because for most all of them, when it's over, when they've played their last game, that was their last game.
Yeah.
And they fail to see what we as adults know, which is those are some of the most special times in your life. The chance to be in that locker room, the chance to be on that bus, the chance to sit there at dinner with all your buddies. The game is great. And the chance to stand there on a sideline one more time in front of people who want to watch outside of mom and dad and brothers and sisters and boyfriends and girlfriends and all that stuff. And they don't see that. They're sick of training table. They're sick of the weight room. They're sick of the 6 a.m. practice they're sick of the schedule. They just want to break, and they can't see how special it is. Deion Sanders may be full of it, but he talked about it last year before they played in the Alamo Bowl against BYU. He talked about how special opportunity it is just to play that game. And, like I said, he's full of it, but he's right a lot of times. And I don't think those Notre Dame kids or the Kansas State kids or the Iowa State kids, all these different teams that have said, yeah, we don't want to play that bowl, they don't see it. And in 3 months, they're like, oh, man, or in 3 years, they're going to say, God, I wish we had played one more game. Even if it didn't matter, just play one more game. And I understand that it's made out of anger. It's made out of frustration. And what Notre Dame did was a disservice, I think, to what everybody else is doing, which is, hey, you lost. I give TCU a lot of credit. I give Gary Patterson a lot of credit. You know, that team really got jobbed in 2014. And he came, first thing he said is, we're going to play in the Peach Bowl and we're going to play as well as we can. And we're going to show them they got it wrong. And they went out and they blew out Ole Miss. That's what you should do, because you're not always going to be invited. And you're part of a greater system here, a system that has been incredibly beneficial to the leadership that have made these decisions to opt out and all that. I hate the decision. It doesn't surprise me anymore, but you know, it's what it is. And until you structure punitive contracts with the players that says you only get this money if you see it through to the end, which includes games potentially ending on January 15th, then this is not going to stop. And the only way that stops or that changes is if there's collective bargaining with these contracts. And I don't know when the hell that's going to happen.
How about this, though, man? Are we short on storylines or what? Not even close. I mean, last week we're losing our minds about the Lane Kiffin and coaches leaving early. And then how quickly we forget. Now it's all about this. I mean, this is a really masterpiece put on.
Well, how long have you followed? I don't know how old you are. How long have you followed it?
I've followed it since I can remember. In 1990, I was a big Colorado fan because the year before, the Saul and Nessie thing really got me in like a tractor beam. So I was invested, and they lost the Orange Bowl in '89. Then they won it in '90, and I was like, wait a minute, they got to share it with Georgia Tech? And I was like, somebody make. And now, Mac, that's the best thing. That one is such below the radar. You talk to anybody from Georgia Tech or Colorado in 1990, it's like we won the national championship. Like there is no sharing. So good for them. I guess it worked out. But that was the moment I was really, as a younger man, like, man, this is screwed up. Yeah. So I've been at it for a while.
So if that's one of your launch points into the sport, and I think for me, because I grew up in Indiana, for me it was more, Notre Dame was the good team. And so I liked the good team that was 2.5 hours up the road. I had no idea at the time that South Bend, Indiana really wasn't in Indiana. there's Notre Dame campus, right? There's Notre Dame, Indiana, and then there's South Bend, and the two really didn't like to mix. So I didn't know that. But the success of that team and Rocket Ismail, that was my sort of entry point into college football. And I love it because of all the things that you just said, storylines and all that. But I did notice this back in the summer as I was reporting on it and writing about it. And some of it has to do with my job, is that you see how the sausage is made. I did notice for the first time my thirst and love of watching this, because it's become so transactional and so just money. And I don't blame anybody involved. I get it. We're not talking about $5,000. We're talking about $550,000 or $3.5 million. Big sums of money. And when that's involved, that's the priority. So I understand that as an adult, but I know that as a consumer, which is what this is, as a consumer, my interest level and thirst for it, boy, really changed. And I don't know if it's my age, like I said, because of my job, but I know all of this, it really finally got to me. And I'm like, I get it.
Well, I mean, look, Mac, give yourself a break. Like, really, if it's because I talked to Chris Kleiman before. I had a Kansas State game this year, and I asked him like that question, like, hey, why are you still doing this? What's your biggest why? Like a corny question like that. And he was like, I don't even know. And he's like, he was very honest, he said, if you bench a kid, a guy who's a starter, he's more concerned of, hey, I'm still getting the check, right? Like 50% of the guys are still like that. They don't even care if they're not playing, as long as they're still getting paid. And so that seeing behind that curtain has definitely put a hit into my interest for it. But then I get swept away by all the excitement and hype once we really get going on Saturdays.
I'll tell you an anecdote. I have a friend of mine whose son plays at an SEC school, and he's a walk-on. He'll never see the field ever, but he's a walk-on and he loves it. He loves it. And the team struggled this season, and his mom and dad, who are alums of the university, went to the game. And they love this school. And they sat in the family section. And they noticed nobody in the family section was cheering for the home team, their team.
Wow.
Nobody. They were just cheering for their kid, nephew, brother, whatever. That's it. And it was entirely, everything was tied into cash. He's not seeing the ball enough. He's not getting enough reps. What's this going to do to his draft status? That's it. And, it was funny. And before they even shared with me that anecdote, they said, they were like, I was shocked that they didn't care who won. I'm like, no, it was all about money, wasn't it? They said, yeah. And again, I get it, but I'll still follow it probably until I'm dead. But it really has affected the way and yesterday's all that noise and nonsense and stuff. I'm like, it's always been flawed. And that's part of it's like, no one's ever complained about the playoff process and the NHL, NBA, NHL, nobody. Yeah. And this one, because it's so flawed, you leave yourself wide open to criticism, which I think now as I get older and I'm part of this, and you probably were ahead of me on this, that's half the fun.
Sure. Oh man, it really is. All right. One or two more items with you quickly. Sure. Great story on Tom Hicks yesterday or 2 days ago. And it talks about his contributions, through the Mavs and through the Rangers, and the Stars, and what he did to North Texas. Can you bring a little bit to the audience, just how important he was? In the story, you say he wasn't Jerry Jones level of importance, but he was pretty important.
Where do you live?
I'm from Philadelphia. Now I live in Flower Mound. I'm back and forth from Flower Mound.
Okay. So we've seen, if you're from Philly, certainly Jeffrey Lurie with the Eagles has been pretty instrumental. Every now and then you'll see a sports owner who does a lot more than just own the team and sit in the suite and sign the checks and hold the trophy, right? Tom, and I want to say this, I really like the man. I covered the Dallas Stars as a beat writer, the Texas Rangers as a beat writer. Obviously when newspapers were much bigger then. So I was on the road a lot, and he was great to me. He was so good to me. He was such a nice man. In fact, he actually—
That's a huge deal. When the owner that's a huge deal. When the owner is taking time to talk to a beat writer, a young guy that's—
And then not only that, it was such a great— he would ask me, I remember he would call me and he would say, "What do you think?" And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that when he asked me, "What do you think?" Well, that an owner would ask me what I thought. And that when I got older, I realized he understood. I was in the locker room all the time. I was on road trips. I was staying in the team hotels. I was hearing things that I would be honest with him
really
about.
Cool.
Oh, it was great. He actually offered me a job. He offered me a job working for the Rangers, and he was great. And the thing
what job? What job was it? Like PR, writing for the team, broadcast?
No, this was like in 2007, and you can appreciate this. By that point, I had realized the time commitment involved in Major League Baseball. That's a lifestyle, right? And that's not 9 to 5. That's 9 to 11:30, right?
Yeah.
So he had offered me a job. It would have been in marketing, but the person I interviewed with, I don't think I've ever told this story. I kept it quiet forever. I think the person I interviewed with was John Daniels, the GM. And what I missed in that moment was that was not going to be a marketing job. I was going to be in baseball ops, because he was saying, okay, you would do this, this, and this. And there were responsibilities that all had to do with baseball operations, like personnel things. And
wow, you didn't take it.
Well, I didn't. And I'm really glad I didn't. I'm really glad I didn't, because I was afraid of what it was going to do to my personal life.
Yeah.
And I was not in that window of life anymore. We were talking about having a kid and all that. And I'm so glad I didn't do it. I know I do wonder sometimes.
Yeah.
No, seriously, it's like anything. You're like, well, how would it have been different? I think the truth is, if I had taken it, I probably would have been fired, because Tom sold the team like 2 years later when he went into bankruptcy. So
then you would have gotten a job with the Dodgers. I mean, I
would have been the GM of the Dodgers.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? You would have already been on your way, dude.
So I think if I'm being honest with myself about it, when you open a media guide and you see like the staff directory, and it's just fleet of middle-aged white guys wearing a suit and tie, that would have been me. I think. But
yes.
So Tom had me at his house. I visited his house in La Jolla, all this. I mean, I really, and if I have, this still bothers me to this day. When I turned him down, I called him and he didn't pick up, and I left a message. I never talked to him again. And that bugs me. Even last week, I was thinking about talking to somebody about Tom, because Tom was a really influential guy at the University of Texas, and specifically with its football program. Like if you go, if you go to Darrell K. Memorial Stadium, you'll see the Tom Hicks entrance or whatever it is. His name's someplace on that building. And I never did talk to him again. And I always kick myself that I didn't handle it as well as I could, because I was very grateful. And it wasn't just that. I mean, he transformed Dallas. And he was one of those involved owners, but he wasn't like Jerry, who made the decision. He's like, what are we doing here? We need to do this. He was the one who wanted to go out and get A-Rod. He was the one who made that happen. And remember, that was an enormous deal. The fact that the Texas Rangers signed Alex Rodriguez. And they gave
well, you know what, Matt? Let me jump in. I just watched the A-Rod doc, and I didn't put all this together until this conversation. When A-Rod mentions, Tom Hicks came to him and said, hey, things have changed for us money-wise. Like, we kind of need to trade you.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to stay, you can stay, and we'll figure it out. But we got to trade you. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like for an owner that's almost be like, look, we'll figure out a way to keep you here, because I'm sure he made all kinds of promises when he brought him to town.
And I would say this now. I don't. Yeah, I'll say it. So I visited him, Tom. This is like in 2004-ish. I visited him. I interviewed him at his house in La Jolla, California. And what I remember about it was I was driving to the neighborhood, and it was right on the beach. And if you had seen the house from street side, you would thought that's just a little house on the beach. Like, wow, this really rich guy lives in this tiny little house on the beach. And it did. From the street, that's what it looked like. So then I knock on the door, and Tom answers. He's got newspapers, the Dallas Morning News and Fort Worth Star-Telegram, delivered to his house. I always remember that. And I go in, and then I see this house, and I'm like, oh my God, it was huge. And he had a personal chef who basically, I don't know if he lived with him or not, but he was there and he made us lunch. And we sat there and talked for a couple hours, and we talked about everything. And I asked him, I said, was signing A-Rod a mistake? And he said, yeah, it was. And like I said, I don't think I've ever shared that before. It's moot now, because the vision, what Tom had was like what a lot of big market teams' vision, which is we're going to sign all these free agents, and we're going to win big, and we're going to draw playoff crowds. Playoff crowds is where real revenue is for teams in baseball and hockey. Well, it didn't work. They signed all these overpriced free agents. It didn't work. They had to trade them all. They never got the pitching staff together. His finances changed. It affected the Dallas Stars because he owned both franchises at the same time, and they had to trade him. And if you look at what they traded, they basically just got rid of the contract, and what they got back in return, you're like, oh my God, that's what you got back? And it was one of the players. They gave them like a list of 12 guys. The Yankees did pick from this list. Alfonso Soriano was the big part of that trade. The other ones were Joaquin Arias, I believe. And then the other guy they got on the list, but they didn't take Robinson Cano. They took Arias over Cano, and then Cano obviously developed into a terrific player who wound up going to Seattle and getting popped for steroids, by the way. But Tom changed downtown Dallas. He got the American Airlines Center built. That whole area around Victory Plaza developed. He was very influential in the success and the growth of University of Texas athletics, specifically its football team. He was the one who tried to get Nick Saban to replace Mac Brown at UT. That did not go over well. And then unfortunately, the thing that really made me sad for him is that he was a big player in this town and this state for a long time, almost 15 years, which is a really long period of time. And unfortunately, his business finances just didn't go. They went sideways after the recession in 2008. He had a lot of debt. The banks needed it, and he had to sell both the Rangers and Stars through bankruptcy. And we really never heard from him again. But in that tenure, in his time, He was as significant of a sports owner really in any of the 4 major sports, and he was a hell of a nice man.
Oh, dude, that's amazing stuff. And the anecdote about the A-Rod mistake, I so appreciate you sharing. Last one. You did a lot of work on. I used to work at the news station in Waco at KWTX years ago.
Yeah.
So you talked to my buddy Julie Hayes a lot during our
Yeah, you know Julie?
Yeah, Julie's one of my best friends.
Yeah,
And
Julie's
so
great.
yeah, that's how I started reading you, because I was new to Texas and stuff. And so I ask you, I know you got like some Baylor understanding, probably way more than that, right? What do you think about, and this is the last thing I'll ask you, I know I'll let you go, but what is your, like this Baylor situation, retaining Dave Aranda, this new AD, to be honest with you, again, there's a ton of stuff I don't know. Certainly doesn't knock me on my ass, right? Like as this amazing thing. I've heard rumors that guys were offered the job, the AD job, and they said no, so you're hearing all kinds of stuff. But I have some concerns for this athletic department, that it feels like they're pivoting in a way that, I mean, you got Scott Drew, and that guy's on Mount Rushmore, so that's awesome. But and you can't undersell that. But I do worry that the direction is really changing for this athletic department. Tell me I'm wrong, hopefully.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think all of these universities that are not in the SEC or the Big Ten or Notre Dame, all of them are operating, and I would say all of them now operate with this fear that conference realignment is going to come again, and the gap between the Big Ten and the SEC and everybody else is going to get even wider, and it's going to make them all essentially a group of 5 teams. Look, like we mentioned at the top, group of 5 was treated better than the Big 12 in the last 2 years, combined by the college football playoff. And that's where all the revenue is coming. So all of these universities are really scared about it. And you've seen what Texas Tech has done. Texas Tech's a player, right? You've seen what BYU's done. Regardless of how it was treated, BYU's a player now. Whatever modifications they needed to make to be a member of a power league and to elevate its name outside of just that the Mormon school, right? Well, they've done it. They've been a good partner to the Big 12. Whatever scheduling issues or whatever issues that school used to present to other leagues, it's done. That's behind them. And it's the fact that there are no rules now, and the age thing doesn't really – remember that for a long time with BYU, there was a big advantage that they enjoyed, is that a lot of these guys would go serve 2-year missions, practice and work out with each other while they were on their missions, come back to Provo for final 2 years of eligibility or 3, and they were grown-ass men.
24, 25.
Yeah. Well, now you're seeing that everywhere. So that's off the table. So you have these other schools that have seen, well, wait a minute, they've really created a gap here, and they're more attractive than us, whatever school. So I think if you're Baylor, which for a while there was really good, had really good seasons, they won a national title in men's basketball, and everybody forgets that. They've been very competitive in women's basketball under Kim Mulkey, who's now at LSU. They've spent a ton of money on athletics and facilities. The campus has grown. It's become an extremely attractive school for Californians who want to come and who can't get into the state schools in California. So they've got all these things going for them, but are they really relevant right now? What do you think?
No, I mean, basketball, I think they will be later in the season, but football – no, they're
so your fears about that I think are well founded, and I never thought that they were going to keep Dave Aranda. In fact, I had been assured that once the athletic director Mac Rhodes had resigned, they were going to put in a new AD, and the first thing he was going to do was go find a new football coach.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't happen. The president said, no, we're going to stick with Dave Aranda, nicest guy in the world, very good coach. They have not won. Okay, so they were going to stick with him. They did. Then they hired an AD. A guy who had been there before, knows the Waco community like the back of his hand, worked for Chip and Joanna.
Yeah.
Right? Now he comes in to take over for Mac Rhodes, who had a great 10-year run as AD. And Mac unfortunately resigns because of personal situations. I hear rumors. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But in terms of a school, I mean, they are right now the poster child for the school that is in a bad way as college athletics and really football evolves here in the next 5 to 7 years, because you say, okay, what are we? we can't be this bad and then continue on with the path we're on, because that's just going to keep us further and further down. And unless Dave has some magic switch and they're going to flip it, I don't see it. So if I'm in that community, if I'm a member of that school, yes, I would be very concerned.
All right. Well, look, if you want to have a good time after that scary news, go check out the Engel Angle and also read Mac in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Man, this is way better than I expected. I didn't think I'd keep you this long. Thank you so much,
That was
Mac.
great. Well, how low were your expectations? Were you just like, we'll have this?
Well, I think of a guy like you coming. I'm like, Mac's probably got a million things going. No, you were so engaged. You were so cool. I appreciate you being so generous with your time and energy. For real. Thank you.
I'll mention it. I appreciate you, and I'm flattered for you taking the time to have me on. Thank you very much. Call me anytime. I'm easily accessible, so anytime.
You got it, man. Thanks, Mac. There he goes. Man, that was awesome. Guy that I've been reading for a very long time. Hey, they say don't meet your heroes. Come on now. Yeah, Mac was the man. That was a lot of fun. All right, we're going to come back a little bit more on the college football playoff. We're going to get Scotty and I are going to go back and check out our brackets from the beginning of the season. And we'll also talk a little bit more about some bowl games. I just circled a couple bowl games that are attractive to me and make me think, okay, the bowl season isn't totally hopeless. There's some fun games out there, and I'll be interested to see what the participation is like this year. We'll talk a little bit about that. And maybe I'll share some stray thoughts about Big 12 basketball. But we're mostly football now. So we'll step aside and come back to Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovakics. Don't go anywhere.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite. At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusanes.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
Unlock a world of convenience with Mullybox, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your tastes. Mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Welcome to Market XLS,
your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
Everybody at Equalife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
So all you have to do is tap your Popple to the back of someone's phone, like that, and they instantly get your social media and contact info right on their screen. They don't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. So get your Popple today and start impressing everyone you meet. Make it pop.
It's hard to find supplements that work. No, thank you. Plant-based supplements made from the Earth's most powerful plants for your immune health, gut health, workouts, and more. Find out more at auraorganic.com.
Stability.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Sousa to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Sousa. That's S-O-U-S-A. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Oh, yeah, it is the Pete Sousa Show. And hey, I'm here to tell you, I tried to tell you, Pete, I tried to tell you how to win some money over the weekend. And I'm here to report that over the weekend, I went 3 for 3. That's right. Just a reminder, this was my football ticket on Underdog over the weekend. LJ Martin. Well, the Cougars got their butts handed to them, but LJ Martin had a touchdown. I told you. Josh Allen had a rushing touchdown. Roman Hemby, I barely got that one correct. He finished with 52 rushing yards, and I took higher than 51.5. Can you imagine how tense I was over that? But I did win my money over the weekend on Underdog by making those 3 picks. If you want to join us and try to make picks and win money for yourself, you can use that promo code Sousa, and you'll get $50 of bonus cash with your first $5 deposit. That's 10x your money just to play Underdog with us throughout the college football playoff. Pete, my Underdog record hasn't been perfect, but I got it this weekend, baby.
Way to go. I mean, that's pretty good. When you hit it like that, that's pretty good. And hope Scotty had a great weekend. Okay, let's bring Scotty back up now. Not so fast, partner. As we put a bow on this thing today, I want to see put up our bracket so we can see how we fared, you and I.
Oh gosh, that's right. Yeah. So before the season began, we did make playoff predictions. We filled out an entire bracket. Pete, when I throw these up, I'll just let you know. This reminds us and our audience just how little we really know about some of these teams preseason. And even guys like you and I would say we're pretty well informed. We're kind of living, breathing this stuff, but you really don't know who these teams are going to be preseason. We both went 5 for 12. 5 for 12. On teams that made it into the playoffs. So here's what it looks like. Let's do yours first. Here was your preseason bracket. So you, props to you, that number 12 seed, JMU, Pete Sousa. You got it. Now, we have Duke football in large part to thank for this. But hey, you got JMU correct. Georgia, Texas Tech, and Oregon, and Ohio State as well were the teams you got correct. Pete missed here on Texas, Penn State, Clemson, Baylor, LSU, Nebraska, and Notre Dame. That is what you predicted preseason.
Let's see yours.
Okay, here was mine. I also got Oregon, Georgia, and Ohio State. So you and I, those were 3 we shared that we got right. Now, if you look at that top right corner, I got Indiana and Alabama correct as well. So those were the 5 I got. And I also missed on Clemson, Texas, Notre Dame, and Penn State, whom you also had and missed. And then the 2 kind of swings that I took where I missed were Georgia Tech and Navy. Now, I was feeling really good about that Georgia Tech pick about 2/3 into the season, and then they kind of collapsed there late in the season and missed the ACC opportunity there. But Pete, really, Clemson, Texas, and Penn State, and Notre Dame. Notre Dame was like right on the bubble, so we were close on that. But Clemson, Texas, and Penn State, and especially with Clemson and Penn State, and Baylor, I guess you and I both picked Baylor of all things, fell way, way, way short of our preseason expectations here.
Look, don't get upset, but your mic is crackling. I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, I know. It's this cable. I know what it is.
All right, good. Okay. So a couple more things from you. What was your biggest surprise for your college football bracket? Like, or I'm sorry, for the official, here we are, as we call the real one up, for this college football playoff bracket, the selection. Anything got you sideways?
I really struggle with Miami making the playoff in the worst Power 4 conference that they couldn't even reach the championship game. I agree if it's between them and Notre Dame. I, like most sports fans, would say, hey, the head-to-head has to dictate it.
Yeah.
So I understand why Miami gets in here, but I would have rather seen BYU. This was a year, Pete, I'll just be honest. I don't know that there's 12 teams worthy to play for a national title. Everyone's talking about expansion, and I get it, but I don't know that there's 12 teams worthy to play for a national title this year. There were some years of the 14 playoff, especially 2014, which Mac Engel referenced, where I felt like, hey, Baylor and TCU probably both deserve a shot to play for this thing, and both ended up getting screwed. So there's some years where 4 teams didn't feel like enough. This is a year where 12 feels like too many, Pete. In fact, frankly, if you get past A&M at 7, I'm not sure who past 7. I'm like, wow, yeah, they deserve to be anointed the champion of all of football in America. Like,
well, you'll feel, but you would feel that way if, let's say, an Alabama can run the table. But you're saying right now that you think there's no way that happens.
I'm saying, like, a playoff is to determine, and part of the fun of the playoffs, Pete, is that some of these teams could sneak up and win it. I mean, I remember the Seattle Seahawks' first Super Bowl victory with Russell Wilson. I think they were like the 6th seed wild card. The New York Giants did that with Eli Manning, right? Like, it can happen. But if you're asking me, Scotty, who has a claim for best team in the country?
Yeah.
Who has a legitimate claim? I might grant you through A&M at 7. It would be tough because, Oregon, Ole Miss, and A&M all have losses of their own. But I would say, okay, those 7, I'll hear you. You get to Oklahoma, Bama, Miami, Tulane, JMU. I'm glad Group of 5 gets representation. I am. I'm not going to whine about it.
Yeah, you and I have talked about that.
But I'm like, nobody thinks any of those teams are the best team in America. So it's just interesting. Like, what is the playoff for? How are we determining these things? So I don't know. Nothing here shocked me. I was a little intrigued to see if Bama would get in. They didn't even move. I was surprised to see Miami in. I get it, but it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, let's put in a team with an at-large bid. They're going to be the only team from the ACC, and they finished tied for 3rd in the ACC. Like, that's just tough for me.
And do you know the Notre Dame, their AD just came out and said it, the guy Pete Bavacqua.
I saw that.
The damaging relationship with the ACC. Apparently, the ACC network had just been showing nonstop, like Notre Dame, Miami, the real game.
All that.
I mean, whatever. All this stuff is like hilarious, It really is.
It is. Well, in Notre Dame, like and you screamed about it in your opening today. So I don't need to scream about it with you, but the entitlement, I have a great respect for Notre Dame and the history and the program. And I mean, last year they had one of the best teams in the country. So but the entitlement to say like we deserve, but we're still going to refuse to compete in a conference. We're still going to refuse. Like you said, best win is on the road at Pitt. Okay. Cry me a river. Like go like, and that's where like when you were arguing for BYU earlier, BYU has an infinitely better resume than Notre Dame, and BYU should be benefiting from the fact that they're no longer independent, but they joined a power conference where they're playing competitive, good football games and teams every single week. And I wish there was a way to say, hey, join the Big Ten. If you're so confident in who you are, Notre Dame, go win the Big Ten.
Notre Dame in the Big Ten would be like 5-7. I mean, maybe better, but you get my point. Like,
but that's the thing. They don't want to commit to the rigorous nature of a conference schedule or the extra data point of a conference champion.
Or they're also, it's also financially shrewd. Last year, all that money they get for, advancing in the playoffs as far as they went, they keep all of that. Whereas
you're right.
If I'm Texas Tech, Did you lose me? No, I'm back.
I did lose you, but I think you're back. Okay. No, you're right. There's plenty of reasons for Notre Dame to stay independent. I'm not questioning the university leadership making that choice, but then you don't get to you get to take the pros with the cons. You get to take the good with the bad, and the bad is you're lacking an extra data point. Your schedule is not as rigorous, and I don't like the entitlement, Pete. I don't like the entitlement. Like, you were not, and I feel the same way about Texas fans this year. They just haven't been as loud. Like, you're not entitled if you lose 3 games, including one to a 3-win Florida team. You're not entitled to a playoff spot. Even if in terms of talent, you might be top 12 in the country. I would say that to Notre Dame and Texas. In terms of talent, you very well probably are top 12 in the country, but you don't get to go on the road and lose to a 3-win Florida team. You don't get to have your best win be against Pitt and then whine when you're not in the field. Like,
yeah, I could. You said it better than anyone else I've heard, really, because truthfully, like, those teams, made their bones and became part of the fabric of college football by kicking everybody's ass. Like, Notre Dame, winning the national championship in, what was it, 1987 or 88, I remember, they just killed everybody. And that was like, there were no doubts. And even when they went to the college football playoff, when it was 4 teams, and they went to the national title game, this is 2013 or 12, and they got annihilated by Alabama. I mean, they still, you played your way into it. They made, I think 2018, I'm thinking they were in the 14 playoff when they lost to Alabama. I remember they covered and the under hit, so I went parlay, so I was happy with them. But you get my point. Like, it's all BS. Like, if anybody's going to get the benefit of the doubt, it is Texas. It is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like, for them to keep complaining is like, to me, it's
that's nonsense. That's the only frustrating thing about a field of 12, and it will continue to be frustrating if it goes to 16 or whatever. It'll continue to be frustrating.
We're always going to have conversations about teams left.
Yes, but here's the problem. Like, going back to what you said about Notre Dame, the greatest Texas teams in my lifetime, one of them ended up beating a USC dynasty for a national title, and they kicked everybody's butt that whole season. Yeah. Then just a few years later, they missed an opportunity to play for a national championship because they dropped a game on the road to Texas Tech. You remember that epic Michael Crabtree play on the sideline, right? And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was Oklahoma who ended up kind of getting elevated over Texas in this weird kind of 3-way tiebreaker deal. And Texas, and maybe I'm misremembering because I was in high school, but I don't feel like I heard nearly as much about, Texas got screwed. It was like, dang, tackle Michael Crabtree and you're in. Like push Michael Crabtree out of bounds and you are in the national championship. And there's no one to blame but yourself.
When you start to open up this whole big thing, it's why, dude, 68 teams get invited to the NCAA tournament basketball, right? I mean, there are 69 and 70 losing their mind. We had it last year with West Virginia, like not getting in over North Carolina. It's the same stuff. It always happens. And honestly, subconsciously we love it.
But it's just a reminder. Hey, if you're Texas or Notre Dame, and I would say this to freaking, if it was Baylor that had finished second in the Big 12 and been left out, I'd be mad. But I'd look at all of them and say, you know who was not sweating their Big 10 championship the other day? Indiana, because they were going to, or Ohio State, frankly, because they were going to walk into this thing no matter what, because they kicked everybody's butt on their schedule all season long.
I think that's one of the reasons that BYU has gone away respectfully, is because they knew if we beat Texas Tech, we're in. They could have played their way in. So I do think
they could have done it both times. If they win one of those 2 games, they're in.
Yeah. So I think that they do kind of, it sucks. You lost to the 4th team in the country twice and you're not getting in. They belong in, but I do believe they can look themselves in the mirror and be like, we had a shot, and we didn't take advantage. All right. We're going to wrap up today's show. We'll get into some of the bowl games tomorrow. We've got plenty more. Exciting week ahead. And I unleashed it this morning. I no apologies either, but I've never been that. I don't know. I didn't see that side of me coming. Anyways, I'm happy I was able to get therapeutic with you guys because we all need it. I appreciate everybody that watches the show. I love Slovacics. I got a busy rest of the day as far as I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with the rest of my life without a car. And honestly, I'm so grateful that I'm okay. If you guys didn't hear, I got into an accident Thursday. It was bad. Everybody's okay, but the car, it involved an 18-wheeler. My car is somewhere in West. I have to get it. I don't know what I'm doing. So we'll begin on that journey now. But there's all kinds of stuff in place to help me with that. So I'm grateful. And honestly, man, I am so happy that I'm okay. People have it so much worse. And, we should all find gratitude somehow today, right? Let's go. Let's be grateful. If you're Notre Dame, hey, you get a chance to play football at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, you're Notre Dame's football coach. Be grateful, buddy. See you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.